right, let's call the meeting to order, please. Natalie, may we have roll call?
Chairperson Phil Goldstein.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Mari Jose.
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Bard.
Here.
Commissioner Eric Westland.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Bickley.
Here.
Alternate Robert Axmacher.
Present.
Alternate Tom Wood.
Here. Great. Nice to have everybody on hand here again. Any amendments to the agenda? Commissioners, staff, anybody? All right. Termination of alternate voting. It is moot because we have all our regular commissioners here. Public comment. I presume we have nobody signed up for general public comment, a chance to speak on something not on the agenda. Nobody. All right, we close the general public comment. The consent agenda consists solely of approval of the November 16th, 2021 meeting minutes. Commissioners, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
The all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is approved on a 5-0 vote. We have one item of business, item 6A, Trailside Active Adult Site Plan. Kevin, take it away.
Thank you, Chairperson. As I get the technology going. All right, you all good? Thank you, Chairperson. As you'd mentioned, this is a development site plan for what is known as the Trailside Active Adult Living. The owner is Timnath Living LLC. Applicant is represented tonight by Norris Design. This site is located actually just due east of us here in the Timnath Town Center. At the intersection of Kidd and Stonefly Drive, just south of Timnath Trail Road, highlighted there in blue on the map. This property is zoned R3 with PD overlay. This site plan is proposals for 168 multifamily senior housing units on 8.5 acres in the Rendezvous, now known as Trailside subdivision. This site will contain 3 multifamily residential buildings with 56 units each, and that will consist of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments for rent. There are also 6 separate buildings containing garage parking spaces as well. This site will also include a clubhouse, pool, pickleball court, putting green, and dog park. Along with that, this site is also providing 3 acres of landscaping and open space, of which there is usable open space, which totals to be roughly 35% of the site, which exceeds the 25% required minimum. That also includes the 12.5% of usable open space for R3 multifamily. That's a newer requirement that was recently changed this year. The required parking for this site is 101 spaces based off of the 0.6 spaces per unit for senior housing. This applicant is providing a total of 105 surface parking spaces and 58 garage spaces, which includes, and then they also have 8 handicap spaces. Staff has reviewed the site plan against the land use code. It is conforming with the R3 zoning regulations along with the PD overlay requirements for the subdivision. All other technical design criteria has been met, and architecture is in compliance as it is generally the same style of architecture of other buildings in the area, the town center, the apartments across the street of Stonefly with that. So with that, I will turn it over to Jenny for a brief presentation. I'm sorry, Savannah, not Jenny. I don't know why that was in my head. It's Savannah. I was thinking something different. I know it is.
This is Savannah, did you say? Not
Savannah.
Yes,
I don't know. I had
Savannah.
Jenny in my
That's
mind.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Am I on?
You are.
Okay. Oh, this would be great too. Okay. Okay. We also had some slides prior to this. Oh, here we go. Yeah. That's all right. No worries. All right. Good evening. My name is Savannah Benedict Welch with Norris Design, here representing the Trailside 55 plus active living community development. Also joining me this evening is Spencer Edwards with Hausman Construction, representing the developer this evening. And also with me is Kelly Savage from Norris Design. She's also the landscape architect on this project. We also have a few members of the applicant team joining us via Zoom this evening as well. This includes Matt Gieser with Studio 951 Architects, as well as Dave Johnson, also with Studio 951 Architects. I believe also joining us is Ryan Banning of Olson Engineering. I'm here representing the engineering firm. And also, I believe joining us is Abby Stark with Hausman Construction, also joining via Zoom. Next slide. Certainly won't go into too much detail. Kevin did a great job kind of setting the stage for the site. As he mentioned, the site is directly east of us. Oh, darn, it's not working. Okay. On an 8.5 acre site. Current land use is vacant. We are certainly proposing to develop the site. Current zoning is R3 with a planned development overlay, which allows for multifamily senior housing. Next slide. As Kevin went into, I think he talked about all of this, but I did want to share this rendered site plan that we wanted to include for you this evening that provides some kind of helpful guidance on the location of these amenities and also the location of the buildings. So as you can see, the 168 unit senior housing community is encompassed within 3 56-plex residential buildings, as well as 6 garage structures, also shown on the site. The gross density proposed is 19 dwelling units per acre, meaning the density requirements for the R3 with PD overlay zoning. We are also proposing a series of sidewalks and trails throughout the development, as you can see, providing pedestrian connectivity, both internally and with the surrounding context. And also included with this development are a series of amenities, including the clubhouse, as shown on kind of the center part of the site. There's also a series of activities and amenities within the clubhouse, including a rec room and other amenities, which I will share in a later slide. Also included on site is a pool, a fire pit, and a gathering space, as shown on the site plan. We are also proposing a pickleball court, as well as a dog park for the residents and guests. And also another highlight of the development is we are proposing elevators within each building for residents of all abilities as well. Next slide. I wanted to touch on a few other project highlights, including the amenities on site for housing for seniors. So of course, this site shows a series of amenities that will kind of create a sense of community for the seniors and provides quality architecture and extensive landscaping to kind of enhance that pedestrian experience. We're also promoting outdoor recreation for seniors, walkability, as well as a mix of parking opportunities for seniors as well. As Kevin mentioned, there's 6 parking structures on site. We are also proposing tuck under parking under each apartment building, as well as surface parking for both residents and guests. Next slide. We wanted to briefly touch on the timeline and kind of where we've been and how we've gotten to this point. We met with staff back in April of 2021 to provide our initial concept. They were great to work with. They provide us with some helpful guidance on the design and provided some helpful thoughts to move forward. We submitted for the site plan in August of this year, and we've been through the site plan review process, which took about 4 months to complete. Now tonight we are seeing you all for the Planning Commission hearing, and then we expect to go see the Town Council in January. We also wanted to provide some architectural renderings of the proposal so that you can see what this will look like on site. This shows a perspective from the southeast of the proposed southern building. As you can see, we are proposing quality architecture, fenestration, articulation that will provide for a very enhanced visual experience along both the walkways as well as internally. Next slide. This shows a perspective on the north west corner of the south building, also showing the garages. This is showing a perspective of the garages kind of facing north and west. We also wanted to share some perspectives of the proposed clubhouse. This shows the entrance of the proposed clubhouse. Also kind of showing the, what would that be, the northeast corner of the clubhouse there, showing some nice windows and fenestration. Also another perspective of the clubhouse. This shows the covered mail kiosk on the southern portion of the site, also showing the southern entrance into the pool area from the clubhouse. And then another perspective of the clubhouse from the amenity area. We also wanted to share the floor plan of the clubhouse. As you can see, there will be a series of amenities indoors as well, including a gathering space, a flex room, a community room. I believe the flex room will provide for a variety of activities for the residents and guests. Also a fitness room, a group fitness room, a craft room, as well as a theater. So a number of indoor amenities as well. And we are all available, as mentioned. We have Studio 951 is also available for questions on Zoom. Spencer is also here, as well as Kelly, if you have other questions.
Thank you. Obviously, there was no public comment, and obviously we have nobody here to offer public comment. One question before I open it up to my colleague. This will go to council on the 11th?
Correct. Since it is a site plan with multiple buildings, that is a requirement by code to go to council for approval.
Okay, good. Good. I knew I was going to ask that same question, so I headed you off here. Okay. Staff, anything else you want to interject before I bring it up here?
Nope.
Okay, commissioners.
I have a question. Is this apartments for rent or condos for sale?
For rent.
Okay. And I've got a question with regard to drainage along the south side of building number 3, where it's really narrow through there, and it looks like you've proposed a storm tech drainage system. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
And as I look at the plans, you have storm tech drains, 8 to 10 feet deep, right next to the edge of the south side of the building there, within 10 feet of the slab on grade construction.
Yes, drainage has certainly been a challenge on this site, as you can imagine. Olson is also here to answer any detailed questions you have on that. But I do have a memory of working particularly hard on that, the drainage along the kind of that southern part of of building 3. Is Ryan on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're right. There is a storm tech system that runs basically along the entire thing. The storm tech system is backfilled with aggregate, so it does have a little bit of structural stability there. But we also have the structural engineer that has worked through that with us. So everything should be good there as far as the structure and having those storm tech chambers right up against the edge of the building. There is a little bit of a gap, and there's an under drain that discharges that system down to the storm sewer. So there's a lot of water quality benefits in that system, where essentially all the water goes through the storm check. It discharges through the barrier between the rock and the chamber itself, and then discharges out. Yeah. an under drain, leaving all of the sediments and everything behind. So that gets cleaned out with a vacuum system.
Great. Yeah, I'm real familiar with the storm tech system. I'm just real concerned that you're exceptionally close to the edge of the building. There may have to be more extensive footers or some structure there because saturated soils, this is really heavy clay and silt. The lateral stresses against the storm tech is going to be significant. And I think because you've got an architect, you've got a geotechnical engineer, you've got a civil engineer, you've got structural engineers. According to the plans, you all have to have one voice on that design criteria to make sure that that is protective of the senior citizens in that building.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's
Agreed.
really important.
Absolutely.
I think if staff has reviewed that with you before going to city council, I think that that should be sufficient.
Staff, anything you can add to that?
Engineering through their review, went through comments on drainage and such with Mr. Banning, and engineering had no concerns.
Okay, Tom, are you okay so far?
As a geotechnical engineer, I'm always concerned with that stuff.
Okay. Before we vote on this, maybe we'll circle back and see if it even rises to the level of something you'd want staff to note with council when it comes up. That
Just make sure that that's double checked
that a
because there's
knowledgeable member of
3 or
planning
4
commission.
cooks in that kitchen
Okay.
that all have to agree.
All right, staff, is that, at this point, is that okay to note that that was and if, see if there may be others, but
Absolutely.
they'll do a good job with that, I would anticipate. Commissioners, Tom, you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Christie, anything? Lisa?
I just have a question relative to some of the parking. So the parking, you've got street parking, you've got garage parking, and then you've got under building parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does every apartment come with under a covered parking, or is there a lot of street parking they're still gonna have to do, right?
I'm sorry. No, not every apartment has specific underground, or not underground, tuck under or detached garages. Those would be on a rented basis,
Okay.
dependent on who comes and wants. So first come, first serve.
Okay.
Assume not every, and I'm familiar with at least one, if not 2 other similar facilities in the area, that not every apartment has a car either.
Correct.
In
Correct.
these.
But we've come to find that most of these have at minimum 1, if not 2. So
Okay.
most of them will park in a covered space and then have a surface stall as well. But
I wanted to ask about that as well. Are the tuck under spots included in your 58 garage parking spots?
No, those are not.
Those are additional to it
Those are
'Cause it-
additional.
my quick
Those are
math-
Not part of, they weren't required to be.
of the count. Okay, so
Correct.
because the numbers you gave us give us 171 total spaces, garage, surface, and handicap, right? With 168 units, like we're just barely covering a car, 1 per unit, right? So if the tuck unders are additional, then that's good news
That
from my
provides that
standpoint. Yeah.
additional- Yeah.
And I know, Kevin, it meets requirement, but that just starts to seem really tight to me that you could end up with a lot of extra cars. So.
Absolutely. And I think that was part of the reasoning for.
How many possible tuck under spaces? You probably aren't at full design yet, but I mean, how many will that add to the whole complex?
Dave, do you have that number off the top of your head?
Good evening, Commissioners. Dave Johnson, Studio 951. I don't have that on top of my head. Matt, are you on the call? Can you answer that question for us?
I am on the call. I do not have the exact number, but I want to say it was about 14 per building.
Sounds about right. Yes.
And then there is the possibility for that we've given the tuck under garages enough space that you could double park behind the tuck unders if that was your tuck under garage.
Thank you. That helps alleviate my concern with that. Appreciate it.
Lisa, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Robert?
So while we're on the topic of parking, is there any plans, and this is maybe more a city question, for any on-street parking on Timnath Trail Road or Stonefly?
Those streets are not designed for on-street parking at this time, so no, there is not any intent for street parking.
Okay. The only reason I ask is the apartment complex west of here on the west side of town hall there on Stonefly Drive. And I know it's still under construction, but what I'm observing there is a lot of on-street parking on Stonefly in a way that isn't necessarily traffic friendly, while the parking lot inside isn't fully utilized. And so I guess I feel good about hearing that there's not a plan for there to be parking on the street. My concern would be that if that changes, if we're seeing that the residents are, 1.5 cars per unit as opposed to the one that you're anticipating. So I'm pleased to hear that at least right now that's not the plan. I hope that remains the plan.
And actually, a correction, Commissioner Oxmacher, there's no parking on Timnath Trail. Stonefly actually is designed to have on-street parking, but there's not any intent with this project to have parking on Stonefly for overflow.
Okay.
There's not a request from the applicant or anything like that for allowance of overflow parking on the Stonefly.
Okay.
I'd like to also add on the apartment project to the west of here, there is a fee associated with parking. And so there's some folks that actually choose not to pay the fee and they choose to park out on the road. And there's convenience factor too. So there's a couple of reasons why they're doing it. We've looked into it, and it is some challenges that they've kind of created themselves to a degree. So we tried to mitigate it with the striping that we've done over there, and we do know that it still is somewhat of a problem, but it's been much reduced because of the connection being able to go through Trailside development over to Three Bell versus all that traffic having to come up County Road 3F. So hopefully that has been diminished over time.
We also see on the new phase of those apartments, we exceeded, so that may help with some of that as well. I know it's a concern of councils, and but it appears here we're far exceeding the required number of parking spaces. It would seem that there'll be sufficient number on the property. Looks. Other questions, Robert?
I do, and this is with regards to the garage standards. I know that this project backs up to Town Hall, which really kind of is the shining star of our little town here. And I guess I'm concerned about the aesthetics of those garages as we invite people to Town Hall, and if that's been looked at.
Yep, we have looked at that architecture there. If you actually look in your packet, there's a couple of different building garage architecture that they are providing with this. That was one of the pieces that we looked at, and we've made comments through the review process on.
Eric, anything else? Marty? Nothing. How is this managed? Do you have a contracted management company, or is that?
Yes, it is a third-party management company who specializes in the age-restricted living. We've used twos in the past, Lincoln Group and Lund Company, and third-party with them, and they manage. They'll have 7 to 9 on-site staff members between maintenance, leasing agents, property managers, and kind of a wellness coordinator. So there will be people on site at all times managing this.
And are they, staff help me with this, is that, trying to think the right words, connected with the town in any way, as far as, are they licensed independently or regulated in some way?
Are you referring to to a metro district or an HOA?
I'm not exactly sure what I'm referring to, except whether or not they have to pass any kind of muster with the town.
No.
As far as the management of a living facility this size.
Not with the town. They probably do with the state, I'm assuming. But there's nothing with a town requirement that we have to approve a management company.
Okay. typically the age group in this, the average age is usually closer, it's not closer to 55 as I've found, correct?
Correct.
What is
So-
the age group you're looking at?
Well, the typical demographic is between 65 and I'd say 75 is what we're kind of seeing. So that is the intent of this. It is just an age targeted or age restriction 55 plus. So it is open to 55 plus head of households, but that typical demographic is north of that.
And then the only other question I had is the maintenance of the area. So is that a responsibility of the contracted management company using this, I think you said average of
Yes,
9 staff?
So the management company does kind of a porter service and cleans up trash and other things throughout the actual site and development. But the landscape maintenance is hired out and subcontracted through by a local company.
And snow removal,
Snow removal is the same.
same
Yes.
hired out,
Yes.
okay. All right. Commissioners, other questions?
Kevin, based on what you said, I believe I know the answer. I just wanted to confirm. Are there any waivers?
No, there are actually no waivers. The architecture for the building height, they are actually under the requirement just by a smidgen, under the 40-foot requirement. Since they're meeting the parking requirements, there's no waivers being asked for.
Tom, are you reasonably comfortable, if not wholly, with understanding that, right, staff will at least mention that was probably the only.
I do think that
considerable
it's a very
concern.
challenging issue from a geotechnical standpoint. Those soils, once they're saturated, lose their lateral strength quickly.
Yeah, Tom, understand that. Our folks have looked at that from the beginning, and the evaluation of that, I mean, it's their engineer's responsibility, obviously, to tag all those bases, and we've held them to task on that. So I think we're where we want to be.
Okay, I'll believe you. Fair enough. Commissioners, anything else for the team here or the Zoom group? Nothing? Okay, very good. With that, anything else you'd like to add? Nothing? Okay,
Just looking
very
forward
good.
to working.
Okay, with that, we need a motion on business item 6A, the Trailside Active Adult Site Plan.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Welcome to Timnath.
Thank you.
Reports, commissioners. Anything? No. And I don't have anything other than wishing everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Anything from the town, staff?
I have nothing more to add. You have a staff report in there from our community development. So you've seen basically the same thing that the council sees on that. But if you have any questions, happy to answer those. This will be our last meeting of the year. So thank you all for being here. And Christy, welcome back. I know you had a little hiatus there, and hopefully we'll see more of you in 22. So, but yeah, look at that, full contingent.
Yep, so we're seeing out the year.
Yeah,
In,
coming in
with
strong here. at the
all
end.
hands on deck. Any idea whether we'll be meeting at our first meeting?
We
in
are
January?
actually. We have some land use code amendments coming up on the January 4th. So hopefully folks can be at that meeting. I know it's just after the holidays, but hopefully we'll be able to tag that one up too.
Okay.
Thanks.
The holiday tree lighting was just terrific. Once again, another terrific event. For those of you who were able to go, I thought everybody did a great job. Anything else? Dawn, anything? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Chairperson, I actually did just want to mention, I know you were there, and I think the town did a really nice job at the groundbreaking for the police station. And it's good to see the turnout there. And so I just wanted to compliment the town on putting that together.
Appreciate you coming in. That was impressive too. Looking forward to seeing that. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.